Here's something that trips a lot of people up on this path. They think if the connection gets too painful, they can just swap it out. Find someone else who feels almost the same. Fill the space with a different face and call it healing. And look, it makes sense why the mind reaches for that. Pain wants relief, and relief usually looks like an exit. But this particular bond doesn't work like ordinary love does. And today we're getting into exactly why the divine masculine can't just replace his divine feminine. No matter how hard he tries, or how long he waits, or how convincing the next connection seems. This isn't about loyalty or morals or you shouldn't move on. It's actually way deeper than that. It's about energy, frequency, and the way certain souls get wired to each other, long before either one even shows up in a body, in a way that neither of them consciously chose or engineered. You can date other people, you can build entire lives with other people, but there's a difference between building a life and completing a circuit, and that difference is what we're unpacking today. It's also worth saying up front that none of this is about shaming anyone for wanting comfort after pain. Comfort is human. Wanting to feel less alone is human. The point isn't to judge that search. It's to understand why a search, specifically aimed at replacing this one particular connection, tends to come up short in ways that quietly confuse the people living through it. Because here's the thing nobody explains clearly enough. This connection isn't a preference. It's not a type. It's a signature. And signatures don't transfer. You can't hand someone else the key that was cut specifically for one lock. So when the divine masculine tries to replace what he shared with his divine feminine, something in him always knows the truth, even when his mind is busy convincing him otherwise. And this cuts both ways, by the way. The divine feminine can attempt the exact same thing, reaching for someone new to fill the shape her counterpart left behind, and she'll run into the identical wall. This isn't a story about one side being more attached or more stuck. It's a shared architecture, built the same way on both sides, which is exactly why it responds the same way, no matter who's doing the replacing. Let's talk about why that is and what it actually means for both of you moving forward. The first thing to understand is that this bond isn't built on personality, it's built on resonance. Personality is what you see on the surface, the way someone laughs, the things they're into, how they carry a conversation. Resonance is underneath all of that. It's the actual vibrational match between two energy fields, and it's not something either person consciously creates. It's already there, humming quietly, long before the relationship even starts. When the divine masculine meets someone new after separation, he might genuinely enjoy her company, feel comfortable, even feel affection. But comfort and affection aren't resonance. Resonance is that unmistakable hum that says, I know you from somewhere deeper than this lifetime, and that hum simply cannot be manufactured, no matter how compatible two people look on paper. He can try to talk himself into a new frequency, but energy doesn't respond to persuasion. It responds to truth. And the truth is, his field was calibrated to hers in a way that took lifetimes to build, not months. So when he attempts to replace her, what he's actually doing is asking a different field to mimic a frequency it was never tuned to carry. It might work for a while on the surface, but underneath, the system knows the difference between an echo and the original sound, and eventually that knowing rises up and makes itself impossible to ignore. You can often spot this in small moments rather than big dramatic ones. A silence that feels slightly off, a closeness that never quite settles into ease, a sense of performing connection rather than simply being in it. None of that makes the new relationship fake or worthless. It just means it's operating on its own frequency, one that deserves to be met on its own terms instead of being measured against a resonance it was never going to match. The moment he stops making that comparison is usually the moment any new connection finally gets the chance to breathe on its own. The second piece of this is what some call the soul contract, though you don't need to believe in any specific framework to feel the truth of it. Before incarnating, certain souls agree to meet again in this lifetime for a very specific purpose. Not comfort, not ease, but growth through friction, mirroring, and eventual integration. This agreement isn't casual. It's not the kind of thing that gets renegotiated because someone got scared or someone left too soon. The divine masculine can absolutely choose other partnerships, and those partnerships can be meaningful, even healing in their own right. But they exist outside the contract, not inside it. They're a different chapter entirely, running on a different set of terms. And that's precisely why trying to force a replacement connection into the role his divine feminine occupies never quite settles. The soul knows which agreements it came here to fulfill, and no amount of trying will make an unrelated bond suddenly carry the weight of one that was written into the plan before this life even began. Think of it like using a ticket for the wrong seat. You can sit down, get comfortable, but eventually the mismatch reveals itself no matter how convincing the attempt was. This is also why some connections feel instantly effortless in certain ways and impossibly hard in others. Effortless in affection, difficult in depth, because they were never designed to carry that particular kind of weight. Recognizing that isn't a loss. It's actually freeing, because it means he can appreciate a new connection fully for what it genuinely offers, without secretly grading it against a contract it was never party to. Then there's the mirror function, which is honestly one of the most overlooked parts of this whole dynamic. The divine feminine isn't just a person the divine masculine loves. She's also the reflection that shows him the parts of himself he's spent years avoiding. His fears, his old wounds, his patterns of running when things get real. That kind of mirroring is intense, sometimes almost unbearable, but it's also the exact thing that pushes him toward genuine transformation. A new connection, built with someone whose energy doesn't carry that same reflective intensity, will feel easier. It might even feel like relief. But easier isn't the same as growth-inducing. Without that mirror, he can drift back into old versions of himself without even noticing, because nothing in the new dynamic is showing him what needs to shift. This is why so many attempts at replacement quietly stall out. Not because the new person did anything wrong, but because the entire mechanism that drives inner evolution simply isn't present. The friction that once felt unbearable was actually doing something. It was working. And when that particular kind of mirror goes missing, something in him senses the absence, even if he can't quite name what's missing. He might describe the new connection as peaceful, easy, drama-free, and that can be true and good. But peace without reflection eventually starts to feel a little flat, because part of him got used to being shown himself in real time. That's not a knock on gentler connections. It just means growth and comfort serve different purposes, and mistaking one for a replacement of the other is where a lot of this confusion quietly begins to take root. The fourth layer is about energetic memory, and this one runs deeper than most people realize. Every interaction, every shared silence, every moment of understanding between the divine masculine and his divine feminine gets encoded into both of their energy fields over time. This isn't poetic exaggeration. It's how energetic imprinting actually works. The nervous system remembers frequency the way it remembers a familiar scent or a particular song, instantly and without permission. So when he's with someone new, his body and energy field are constantly, quietly comparing. Not out of disrespect to the new connection, but because the imprint is still active, still running in the background like a program that hasn't been closed. He might not consciously think about her at all in a given moment, yet some part of his system is still referencing that original frequency as the baseline. Trying to replace her, then, isn't just an emotional decision. It's asking his entire energetic memory to overwrite itself instantly, and that's simply not how imprinting works. It fades slowly, if at all, and usually only fully clears once the connection reaches some form of resolution, not avoidance. This is often why certain small, ordinary things can unexpectedly stir something in him years later. A particular kind of quiet, a certain way someone laughs, a season of the year that carries an old charge. It's not weakness, and it's not a sign that he's failed to move forward. It's simply imprinting doing what imprinting does, running quietly beneath the surface of daily life until it's actually been met and integrated rather than pushed aside in the name of starting over. Now let's talk about the illusion of moving forward through substitution, because this is where a lot of pain gets created unnecessarily. Choosing a new relationship can be a beautiful, valid, healthy choice. But choosing it specifically to erase or replace what existed with the divine feminine sets up a false goal from the very beginning. The mind tells itself, if I build something good enough over here, the ache over there will disappear. But the ache was never really about loneliness or lack of company. It was about incompletion at a soul level, and no external relationship, however loving, can resolve something that's fundamentally an internal and energetic process. This is actually good news, even though it might not feel like it at first. It means the work was never really about finding the right replacement. It means healing doesn't require another person at all. The divine masculine doesn't need to locate someone who feels close enough to her essence. He needs to do his own inner work, independent of anyone, until wholeness stops depending on any external presence whatsoever. Once that shift happens, everything about how he relates to both new connections and the original bond changes completely. This is genuinely one of the more hopeful truths in the whole picture, because it means nothing about his healing is out of his hands. It was never locked behind another person's choices, timing, or presence. The wholeness he's after has been available to him the entire time, quietly waiting on the other side of doing the work he might have been avoiding by staying busy with the search for someone new instead. The sixth thing worth sitting with is how this connection operates outside ordinary timelines, which is exactly why replacement attempts so often collapse under pressure. Regular relationships tend to follow a fairly predictable arc: meet, connect, grow closer, build a life. This bond doesn't follow that arc because it's not operating on a linear human timeline in the same way. There can be years of separation that still somehow feel connected, distance that doesn't erase resonance, silence that carries more charge than constant contact ever could. When the divine masculine tries to slot a new person into a linear relationship timeline, expecting normal pacing and progression, it can genuinely work well for a while. But there's often a quiet undercurrent of confusion when things don't feel like they're building toward that same soul-deep resolution, because they're simply not meant to. That's not a flaw in the new connection. It's a sign that not every relationship is meant to answer the same question. And once he understands that difference, the pressure to force one connection into the shape of another finally starts to ease. Some bonds are here to build a home. Others are here to build a soul. Both matter, both are real, and both deserve to be honored for what they actually are, instead of being stretched to fit a timeline that was never theirs to begin with. The relief that comes from finally seeing that difference clearly is often bigger than people expect, because so much of the earlier struggle wasn't really about the new connection at all. It was about quietly demanding two very different kinds of love to move at the exact same pace. Finally, there's the truth that keeps circling back through all of this. What he shared with his divine feminine wasn't a phase to move past. It was a catalyst designed to activate something permanent within him. Catalysts don't get replaced, they get integrated. Once integration happens, whether they end up together in this lifetime or not, the growth stays. The awareness stays. The expanded capacity to love, to sit with discomfort, to stop running from depth, all of that becomes part of who he is, carried into every future connection, whether he's consciously aware of it or not. This means the goal was never to erase her from his story and start fresh somewhere else. The goal was to let what happened between them reshape him from the inside, so that whatever comes next, including any relationship with someone new, gets to benefit from a version of him that's more awake, more grounded, and more capable of real intimacy than he was before all of this began. And this same truth belongs to her just as fully. Whatever she's carried away from this connection, the strength, the clarity, the refusal to settle for less than real depth, none of that needs him present to remain valid. The catalyst already did its work the moment it moved through her, and that kind of transformation doesn't reverse itself simply because time passes or distance grows. So here's where that leaves both of you. If you're the divine feminine reading this, know that what you shared can't be quietly swapped out for something more convenient, no matter how long the silence stretches or how settled his life might look from the outside. And if you recognize the divine masculine in this, Know that the answer was never in finding someone who comes close enough. It was always in letting this connection do exactly what it came here to do: crack you open, wake you up, and leave you forever changed. That work doesn't need replacing. It just needs completing, one honest step at a time, and every bit of that path is already carrying you exactly where you're meant to go.